Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coda Jacobs, the crusader and visionary behind a brighter future in wrestling. If you're an honorable and noble public servant like myself, you are listening to the Game Changer Podcast.
Game Changers, assemble! Welcome to the Game Changer Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am NateFNGreat, being joined here as always by the lovely and very talented VicTori Belle. How's it going today?
It's good. How are you?
Doing pretty good, guys. In my background, we've got a little bit of a storm brewing right now, so I do apologize in advance for some of the disruptions possibly caused by my furry critters downstairs. But we move on with the show. The show must go on. We're actually going to be talking some pretty interesting topics. We got some news stories that we wanted to cover, and also we're going to be talking about honestly, we can call this a movie phenomenon that's going to be coming up on March 13th, 2020. That being Godzilla vs. King Kong. So definitely tune in to see that, you guys. But first, let's get right into some of our news stories. For me, this one was actually kind of an interesting one. So this was actually coming from CNBC.com, which they have actually ranked 20 U.S. cities with the biggest entertainment bang for your buck. So I'm going to actually go into talking a little bit about some of these cities, as long as this site works with me. Jeez Louise. So at number 20, we have Philadelphia, 19, Houston, 18, St. Louis. Shout out to all of our peeps down in St. Louis, that being mainly Sarah and Photo Joe. Seattle, Washington at number 17. Tampa at 16. Washington, D.C. at 15. Denver at 14. Honolulu, Hawaii at 13. New Orleans actually at number 12, which kind of surprises me, actually. I would have figured it had been in the top 10. Austin, Texas at 11. Los Angeles at 10, San Diego at 9, Portland, Oregon at 8, San Francisco at 7, Atlanta at 6, Chicago at number 5, Miami at number 4, New York at number 3, Orlando at number 2, and Las Vegas at number 1. You know what? I think that's not too much of a surprise that Las Vegas was at number 1. But there are actually some runners up here, and they actually give a little bit of explanation. So actually, here's the first thing that they say about this entire deal here, is that the key points when it came to ranking a lot of these cities was that Americans spend more than $3,000 each year on entertainment, so that was a factor for this. Wallet Hub compares 66 metric across entertainment, recreation, and nightlife categories, as well as cost, to rank 182 U.S. cities according to their fun factor, and Las Vegas tops the list. New York is home to the most restaurants, and San Francisco has the most dance clubs. So that's kind of not much of a surprise. But for Oklahoma City, they actually boast that they have the cheapest six-pack of beer at $7.24 on average, which apparently is 1.6 times lower than the price in New York City, which is $11.78. That's honestly crazy. So here in Wisconsin, we're kind of in the in-between section. I think same thing is for Chicago. San Francisco has the most dance clubs, more than 84 times as many as Plano, Texas, which has the fewest. Okay. Festivals, they had Honolulu, San Francisco, New Orleans, and Tampa, Florida are all tied with the most festivals per capita. Laredo, Texas, has the fewest. Okay, so it seems like Texas is definitely getting the short end of the stick here. This was one that I found very interesting. Port St. Lucie, Florida, enjoys the lowest movie ticket prices at $6.63, which is 2.3 times cheaper than in Los Angeles, which, oh gosh, here we go with this one. The nation's most expensive ticket at $15.57 per person. Jeez, that is insane. And then finally, they also mentioned park access. So San Francisco and Boston boast the highest level of walkable park access, with 100% of people enjoying access to some green within walking distance. That's almost 3 times higher than Jacksonville, Florida, where 35% of people can walk to a park. That says a lot. So this is basically coming from Wallet Hub, where they're figuring out, which ones have the most entertainment, which ones have the most recreation, as I said before. Honestly, like I said, it surprises me that New Orleans actually is a bit lower than what it was. I would have thought it would have been in the top 10. But no surprise to anybody, really, is that California has overtaken the list with 3 spots here. But, hey, one thing I'm very proud of is that Chicago ranked in the top 5, so that's really cool to see. So, VictoriBelle, I want to know kind of your thoughts on the list and some of these facts that I have just laid out for you.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. It was the most entertainment bang for your buck, right?
Correct.
So, yeah, it would make sense that, like, it's more expensive in some of these smaller cities because there's less of it. So I think it was interesting. Of course, New York and Los Angeles aren't going to be number 1 because even though there's a ton of it, they're both extremely pricey, and nobody wants that. So Las Vegas makes the most sense. You can literally go see a show, like a live performance, for probably like $10 there because there's just so much of it. And it's good. That's the weirdest thing about Vegas. If anyone's never been, like, Vegas seems like you're like, oh, it's Vegas, blah, blah, blah. Like, some people think that. And it's not. Like, shows in Vegas are amazing, and then you come home and you go to a semi-similar show in your hometown, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have gone to Vegas, it ruined it. like I went to, what was it? It's called, like, Mother Hubbard's Cabaret or something, coming from Las Vegas, where you get to go see, like, Magic Mike and, like, all these other fun, like, cabarets that also just have an amazing show around it. And, like, it just made me sad for the people performing in this cabaret. And they did a great job, but I was like, oh, there's no, like, special effects. There's no nothing. It's just them, like, juggling bowling balls. And I was like, still kind of cool. You can do that, but where's my flying unicorns? I want them. Like, it makes total sense. I actually, I go to Vegas often. I have family there, born and raised there, type of thing. So, it's a good town to get to save money on entertainment, but you'll probably be spending it elsewhere.
More than likely that is the case. And honestly, I do agree with you when you were saying that there is a lot more to do in Vegas. And, the crazy thing is, it's not just, the shows. It is, I think a lot of people have definitely said that some of the food in Vegas is really damn good. And, of course, you got to also consider the fact that chapels there get, like, more money for the buck because literally it's one of the few places where you can basically make a mistake in one night and then the next night be like, yeah, we did that. Time to go to the courthouse and get a divorce. Just, oh, jeez. It's an interesting deal. It really is. But, alright, so we'll move on from that. VictoriBelle, do you have anything for us to discuss?
I do. I have a few stories.
Okay.
So I guess I'll start out. Do you want me to give all my stories, or do you have more in between?
Nope, actually that was just it. So it's all you right now.
Cool. So, I'll go with kind of the lamest to what I think is the coolest. I think we were talking a lot about Apple and Disney, how Apple's competing with Disney, so I wanted to just continue that conversation with having there's been multiple stories coming out that Disney CEO Bob Iger was saying he believes if Steve Jobs was still alive, that Apple might have combined with Disney. And they talk a little bit about how that would happen and the merger and stuff. So if you're still interested in why Apple and Disney are competing so harshly, it's even more funny that Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, thinks if the founder of Apple was still alive, he would be on Disney's side. So I think that's just interesting, and it's a very Disney thing to say, well, he would have supported us. I don't know, it's just interesting to me.
It's one of those things where it does seem like the political way of just saying it, like you were stating, that, oh, well, if this person was alive, then, he'd be on our side. That's like kind of saying, well, if, Albert Einstein was alive, he would support all, crazy electronics that go on nowadays, where, honestly, it's just kind of one of those things where, I think about it with, Albert Einstein, and somebody's like, oh, he would support the fact that we're doing an iPhone 11, and he would probably just be like, what's an iPhone? It's like, it's just one of those situations where it's just ridiculous that they would go that far, and I don't know. I think that's just something in bad taste. I think there's a lot of people would agree with that, you're kind of speaking of somebody who is not working, with a company, or just, not around anymore. It's just one of those things where I get it. They're trying to basically say that, it would work if these, circumstances happen, but same time, you gotta work within the present. You can't focus so much on the past because it's already happened. You can't change it unless we had, a time traveling machine from Avengers Endgame, which would be absolutely awesome. Or give me my DeLorean, damn it.
I mean, if anyone could do it, Apple might.
Yeah, you know what?
Apple or Tesla.
That is true. That is fair.
But yeah. So another one that came out this past week was. There is a new picture that came out of Kristen Wiig and being Cheetah in Wonder Woman 1984, which is going to come out June 4th in 2020. I don't know if anyone else is extremely excited about seeing her as Cheetah. I need to see it, or I don't know. I just don't feel like Kristen Wiig is the Cheetah I would want. And the picture of her is literally looking like Kristen Wiig. She just looks a little pathetic. It's a picture from the movie, and it's like she's in a shabby sweater and pants, and she just looks defeated, kind of. And I'm like, that's not the Cheetah I think I know. But we'll see. When I think of Cheetah, I think of the version of her that is an ex-Amazonian and kind of just really demeaning to the Amazonians. And so to have her just in the middle of the street looking like a New Yorker and not like anything special, it's interesting. I don't know where they're coming from with this Cheetah, and so I really just don't know how I feel about it. I'm excited for Wonder Woman 1984, but what are you going to do?
You know, I've come to the point where, obviously, when it comes to a lot of these deals, there are some cases where you can be super excited about it, and it actually pays off to be excited for these kind of deals. But also, you kind of watch these trailers, or you kind of watch these movies, look at them, and it's just kind of like, man, so this is happening. This probably means we're going to get something really crappy. And it turns out it's something really crappy. So I'm hoping it's not one of those situations, like you said, I'm one of those people that's also looking forward to Wonder Woman 84. The only thing I probably am worried about is the Kristen Wiig deal. And of course, ironically enough, throughout the Packer-Viking game, one of the things that they were promoting was the animated series that she is going to be a part of, I think, coming up in the next couple weeks, I want to say. And it's just one of those things where this might be a really good topic to kind of talk about in a future podcast, about how we've gone from animation, especially animated like series, to being so absolutely awesome to just seemingly demeaning adult humor-esque deals. So that might be something to cover more in a future podcast. But yeah, I'm hoping that this is not a situation where you talk about how her facial reactions make it look like she's defeated. Hopefully, she's not having that miserable of a time. I kind of picture also the video that I watched with Karen Gillan when she's wearing the makeup as Nebula, and she's at least showing that she's at least having fun with it. Of course, her character Nebula looks like she's so miserable, but I think that with Karen, she definitely seems like she embraces the character. I'm hoping that whatever they do with the Cheetah character, at least Kristen Wiig looks like she's enjoying being a part of being the character.
Oh yeah, I would think. I mean, if I was Kristen Wiig being a part of a Wonder Woman, she's probably thrilled. She's acting in this picture. Like, I just don't know. I don't know where the character's coming from. It looks like she's going to be like a loser type of character who turns into this supervillain type of character. But I might need to read up on Cheetah, but I don't know that outcome. I always know her as like she's from, Themyscira. She's from the same place that Diana is from, and she's just like the total opposite of her. Like, she wants to kill everybody and blah blah blah. So like seeing her as like not very muscular and strong and stuff like that just makes me think of like she's not the character. So that's what I was talking about. I love Kristen Wiig. No hate against her. I would frickin' say yes if they gave me a superhero role or a supervillain role instantly. So all love to her. I just hope she can do this role. I would have not casted someone of her stature. I think the humor is going to be funny. She's probably going to be hilarious. I don't think of Cheetah as funny, but I'm like, okay, if we're going to be funny, let's do it. I mean, they might be like riding off the tailwind of Shazam, how Shazam was humorous and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, but at the same time with Shazam, it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be, this adolescent kid within an adult body, which makes sense for it to be humorous. If you put humor into what's supposed to be a serious character, then it's probably going to hurt that character's credibility. I mean, it's kind of what they did with the Jared Leto Joker deal. I'm sorry, Warner Brothers, but that was just one of those things where it's like, made him way too.
He wasn't even funny though. He was just creepy.
Well, weird. That's kind of the point I'm getting at, is that you have this visual of what Joker was. Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger. They give him that creepy edge, but they also try to make him a menacing character. With him, it's just kind of those things where it's like he's kind of that creepy uncle that you want to just distance yourself from. And he's got grills. Okay, yeah, I'm putting the restraining order on right now. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just don't know. I am curious to see where this goes with the Wonder Woman deal with Cheetah, but let's just hope that the origins make sense. Let's just hope also that the character makes a lot of sense. And who knows, we may see an Oscar-winning performance by Kristen Wiig, but only time will tell, and we'll just have to wait and see. We haven't really gotten the trailer for it yet. Although we did get a teaser trailer for the new Batman with Robert Pattinson this past week, so I did actually forgot I wanted to mention that. Yeah. Honestly,
is it a teaser or fan-made trailer?
It's a teaser. It is a teaser. I can confirm that. Yeah, I just look at it and I think to myself, okay, so this looks relatively. It does look kind of what you would expect from a Batman teaser trailer. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, it's not one of those things where I'm going to be like, oh my god, I'm looking forward to it. I'm still kind of like hesitant about it, but at the same time, it's like jeez, I feel like Batman goes through more reboots than Spider-Man does at this point. That's kind of sad.
Well, yeah, Batman and Superman, even though Marvel's been doing really well, they still are, the icons of superhero lifestyle, superhero, fandom. They are the icons. They started this, and Wonder Woman was part of it, but she somehow, because of a female character, probably, she isn't held in the same esteem. But yeah, that's actually my last story was going to be talking about how our icon of Superman is actually looking into the Marvel universe because, he flopped the deal with Shazam because he was supposed to show up in the film, and he didn't. We just kind of got to see, the Superman symbol, on his shirt. But there's rumors from Cheat Sheet that Henry Cavill is looking to leave Superman for Wolverine. From the DC universe to the Marvel universe, people are thinking that he's looking to be the next Wolverine, which, when I hear and think about it, I'm like, I really like him as Superman. I like him in general. And then I think of Wolverine and I'm like, oh my god, he could be really good.
Yeah. I think it's still going to be a situation where he's going to have big shoes to fill with the previous Wolverine being Hugh Jackman. I'm sorry. I'm not really big on Henry Cavill's performance on Superman, but that's only because I've only seen his I was about to say I've only seen his bad performances, but I'm like, has there been really a good one? Maybe the first Man of Steel? I don't know. But, it's like I said, he's going to have some big shoes to fill, basically doing this, now reboots of the X-Men.
This is a rumor, this is something that says they're in the talks. It's not saying that he's for sure going to be Wolverine.
Yeah, alright.
But we already know that they're talking about X-Men. Obviously, we need a new Wolverine. His stature, he's still 6'1", I think, but, Wolverine's supposed to be, a 5'7", bub, little, that's what a Wolverine is, that's where he gets his name. Wolverines are small rodent type that are ferocious and dangerous, and you stay away even though they're super small. By super small, I mean, probably a medium-sized dog.
Right.
That would rip your brains out, apparently. So it's more humorous and more accurate to get a smaller statured actor. Hugh Jackman, I don't know why, he's just so long. His legs are long, everything. So whenever I see him, I still love him as Wolverine. But I'm like, oh, I wish you were just squished.
That's funny.
Just to be more character accurate, because I am super about that, obviously, as we've been talking about Cheetah and all these characters. Sorry about it, but I think casting is a big deal, and we should cast for accuracy, because everybody can, not everybody, but a lot of people can do the jobs of these amazing superstars if they get a chance. Thank you. Alright, rant over.
No, I see the point that you're trying to get at, but at the same time, I think as long as they hit some of the great features, that's fine. But one of the things that I've kind of seen them trying to do over these last few years is that they are trying to explore other realms, them finally having, somebody of African American descent playing Spider-Man, because all we've seen is, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, and of course, people are kind of like, well, we want to kind of see a different Spider-Man here. Then they bring in Miles Morales, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's one of the best things. It's so revolutionary. It's like, yeah, it's completely different because A, it's a different Spider-Man than what we're used to. B, Miles Morales, and hey, it's a different person, a different color. I hate to be that person, but at the same time, it's the facts. It's one of the reasons why it got an Oscar win at the Oscars this past year, which well deserved. Thank you very much, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Looking forward to the sequel. It's going to be awesome. So anyway, getting into now talking about the Godzilla franchise. So, ladies and gentlemen, I actually just did a little bit of research on there, and this recent Godzilla film that Hollywood produced as well as created, was actually the 35th installment into the Godzilla franchise entirely. Because I actually looked at a deal. It's been a TV series for a long time. It's been transferred into movies, and I want to actually just talk about a couple of these things before we talk about the main three we're going to talk about. The Toho productions actually have different eras from this. So this is the Showa era, I believe. I believe it's got like a little like, is that a line over the O? Oh, it is a line over the O. Okay. So this is going from like 1954 to 1975, where they talk about Godzilla. And actually, ironically enough, their third movie was King Kong versus Godzilla. So they actually did this like really early on in their movie era. The Heisei era from 1984 to 1995, which again they have created a lot of really good ones in here. One of the first ones that come to mind that I see right here is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. Oh my gosh, I'm kind of looking forward to if we actually get that. The Millennium Era from 1999 to 2004. Again, another really great selection here. And then they had the Reiwa Era from 2016 to the present, which is the ones that they are getting into just before we reach the Hollywood productions. Obviously, we've talked about this. We've given our thoughts about the interesting movie that was Godzilla in 1998. No, I'm not even going to talk about that. That movie is dead to me, and I'd like to replace Matthew Broderick's line where he talks about the fish to "That's a lot of you know what," because that's all I can say about this movie. But the Legendary Predictions MonsterVerse movie, of course, we have Godzilla King of the Monsters, as well as actually, this is not even considered a Godzilla film. The Kong Skull Island movie that my lovely co-host definitely recommended that I watched, and I did get a chance to watch it yesterday. Honestly, there's quite a bit to talk about with this, because I actually do want to go into this when we talk about Godzilla versus King Kong, not the movies, of course, not the actual movie itself. We're going to talk about that a little later, but of course we had Godzilla coming out in 2014, and that got a pretty good box office amount of, I believe it was 500 million. Let me double check that really quick. It was 529 million. But Kong Skull Island, released 3 years later, got 566 million. So here's where it gets to be kind of interesting. One of the main complaints that I had about the first Godzilla was that there was too much human interaction with this, or there was too much focus on the people there. But then we go into Kong Skull Island. It kind of has the same deal, but it's still got a lot more. I mean, there was still quite a bit of focus on King Kong, as well as the skull crawlers. I'm sorry. So I'm going to actually turn this over to you, VictoriBelle. So why is it that when we have too much human interaction or too much human involvement in Godzilla, it kind of harms the box office a little bit? But when we have that in King Kong, it didn't really seem to faze people that much.
That's a really good question, because when I think about all of the movies, and I'm like, I really like Kong Skull Island a lot. Like, I was like, I didn't expect it to be as good as I felt it was, and I agree with you. It had a bunch of human story in it, and obviously these human actors are the people who are really progressing the movie, because we cannot watch a giant CGI creature just smash everything and go around if we really wanted to, but that's not how we can actually progress the story and make it something that we can connect with and involve ourselves with. It might have only been, and stop me if I'm wrong, but I almost think it was more appropriate that Kong started at, like, World War II is when they're going in there. So it is an event that people can emotionally and realistically connect with. So when they see these, like, soldier types and the people who are documenting and wanting to, you know, get this island in the Pacific so that we can help win the war and all that, that has a realistic approach that people can buy into and therefore care about the characters more, to where Godzilla, they just threw us into this scenario. One, like, I know there were a lot of complaints about how Godzilla looked. I personally was like, it looks like Godzilla to me. I don't. Like, even, like the Japanese creators were like, it's kind of fat. And we're like, I'm like, what?
Oh.
Like, okay, calm down. Calm down, guys. Compared to Godzilla, 2000, yeah, every Godzilla's fat, because that was a weird Godzilla. But I feel the disconnect. I didn't like the people in the Godzilla movie, and I think it was just like, it made no sense. If a Godzilla thing or a giant sea monster was coming and, like, we sent military troops, and it was like, there was no reason in my mind for Godzilla to be coming. I think it was San Francisco, right, or something.
Something along those lines, yeah, I believe.
Yeah, West Coast. And I'm like, I don't understand. They didn't give me anything, and there's so much history within the Godzilla franchise that they could have gone and, like, grabbed something from history and been like, ooh. And I think they were trying in the new movie, like, saying, like, nuclear bombs could have caused it and stuff, which we nuked Japan, so whoa, that could have definitely been something to connect and been like, whoa, this is crazy. But I don't know, all the reptilian movies have a human disconnect that I don't necessarily like, but I do, for the most part, enjoy the actors that were portraying them. But Kong, just like, I was like, I'm sold. Like, John C. Reilly was amazing. Samuel L. Jackson, crazy, awesome. Brie Larson was great. And Tom Hiddleston, and these are all, like, Marvel characters too, Tom Hiddleston was amazing as like a heroish type of character, and then all the other actors in between that were like the soldiers that a lot of them were dying in Kong. A lot of people like instant died, and I think that was great too, because like a lot of the actors and stuff in the Godzilla movies, they're like, here's the important person. We're coddling them. We won't let them die. Don't worry. And I'm like, kill them! Murder them! Allow me to feel for them. But I don't know. I do believe that it's the underlining story arc of the World War II in King Kong allowed us to really believe in these characters versus the non-story arc of this creature is coming to the West Coast for some reason. And it's been a while since I've seen Godzilla, so I could be off the mark with what it was supposed to get. But I did not like that movie, and I'm not watching that movie again.
Well, so much for that idea that I had. I do agree.
Oh no, are you really?
I was going to say, once we get closer, we'll have to watch like all three of these movies consecutively, and then go into having a better understanding. But
I'll fast forward to the part where Godzilla comes out, because I think it's like a 3-hour movie, and Godzilla comes out at 2.5 hours into it.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I do know where you're talking about with that. But yeah, we'll talk more about that when we get closer to Godzilla versus King Kong, which I'm still looking forward to. That looks like it's going to be awesome, especially after watching Kong Skull Island. It's like, oh gosh, we get to see this. It's awesome. So I want to definitely cover a couple things that you definitely said. One, the look of Godzilla is kind of tacky, but at the same time, you look at a lot of what the kaiju from a lot of the earlier Godzilla movies, and even some of the ones even from now in the present, it still kind of looks similar to the one that they have in Hollywood. I think the other thing is that they made Godzilla look really bloated, to say the least. That's the one thing that kind of stood out to me, was that he kind of looked a lot fatter than one of the ones that we've seen in recent history. Where ones that you see in the kaiju in Japan, he's a bit thinner. He actually seems a bit more muscular. There we go. I just think that maybe it's one of those situations where it's like, don't judge it yet. Just give it a little bit of time. Honestly, I'm at the point right now where I think I might be actually totally fine with the fact that they have this different design to him. Yes, it does have the reminiscence of some stuff from the Japan deal, but they try to put their own twist on it. Maybe they shouldn't have gone the direction of having him be a little more bloated. But I mean, other than that, I thought that they made Godzilla pretty well. Maybe they could have picked somebody more interesting than the Mutos in the first Godzilla film, because I'm pretty sure people were just kind of watching this like, oh, they're going to do this weird deal where they have, these two should not be together because they're going to spawn something more deadly and blah, blah, that kind of deal. I also probably had to deal with the presentation of the backstory behind Godzilla as well as Kong, because as you said, John C. Reilly, when they got to the where they're at the tribe and they're basically wandering around, they go into that that cavern where they're showing all these creatures, and they're showing basically all the history as to why Kong is still here, and they even bring up the fact that Kong is the last of his kind. He's basically a lone creature. The rest of his family got killed by the skull crawlers, and it's one of those things where I think it has one of the best lines of the entire movie, where John C. Reilly talks about the name, and it's like, I knew I shouldn't have said it before it came out, but and of course Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston, they're like, no, we kind of like it. We think it's actually kind of cool. It actually kind of works out. I do agree with you, though, majorly, when you talk about the likability of the characters. I can't think of a single character in the first Godzilla movie that stood out to me as super likable or super relatable. With the Brie Larson character, she's kind of a camera girl who is basically trying to get, that big break. She's trying to get that big discovery that's probably going to make her famous. For Tom Hiddleston, his character basically is just, I think, still trying to find a way to just run away from his problems that he's had working with the war. You have to correct me on this if I'm 100% wrong. But, in the end, he becomes the hero that a lot of people... He actually kind of feels like he is low-key in this movie, because he's kind of one of those characters who, who still kind of seems like he's bad, but at the same time, in the end, he acts like he's the hero, and he is the hero. So, it's kind of cool to see that. Of course, we have the other characters like John Goodman and Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson, he's trying to avenge his fallen men. He doesn't understand the creature, so he's like, I don't understand it. Kill it. It's like, there's a lot of people that still would do that. There's a lot of people that would probably be like, I don't understand it. Let's just get rid of it. With John Goodman, his character, he kind of is a bit of a psychopath, and it's kind of one of those characters I'm kind of liking when it comes to him. He plays it too well to this point. But he also kind of has a relatable deal where it's like, he wants to discover this. He wants to discover the unknown. He wants to discover the unusual. He wants to be able to express this to the world and be able to be like, hey, you thought I was crazy, not anymore. And halfway through, he was just saying like, I wish I was wrong. So he kind of has a relatability to it where he's like, okay, I'm a little over my head. I feel like I made a huge mistake. It's like, you kind of did, sir. Not gonna lie. And I think that was it, because when you compare that to the Godzilla deal, yeah, they did have, I'm trying to remember who like the main scientist was. He was there to basically tell the story of it. But it's really sad to say that he had a very subpar performance compared to John C. Reilly, who's best known for a lot of his comedic deals. And yet John C. Reilly had some of the best dialogue in Kong Skull Island. So it might have to deal with that. But I will also say this. So this also kind of goes into Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is actually the lowest one ranked as of right now.
Really?
It is.
Over the first one?
No. Godzilla King of the Monsters is the lowest one as far as like box office deals, because compared to the first one actually got 500 million. The one that released this year only had 385 million, which honestly shocks me because, with them, the way they promoted it, the way they made it look awesome. I'm looking at this, I'm just like, okay, this is actually really good. They have less interactions, and we've kind of talked about this off the air about how certain characters don't exactly, stand out. Well, they stand out, but for the wrong reasons. For this one, it's supposed to be awesome, and when they get to the monster battles, it's great. We get Godzilla versus Rodan. We get Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. We get Mothra.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
We get all these great characters. We get all these great monsters in this, and it's finally one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is great. We're finally getting this. You feel like a kid, like, yeah, we're getting to the action stuff. We're getting to the cool stuff. This is great. And honestly, I think they found a way to balance it out. In all honesty, they focused more on the monsters than they did at the first, Godzilla deal, and they focused less on, the human interactions. And unfortunately, I think that was the best thing that they could do, because some of the human interactions, they really kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie. Again, another situation where it was like, I don't really care mostly for the movies. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown, she's great in Stranger Things. Love her character there. This one, it's like she kind of got a free paycheck basically for this movie. And one of the things
she was so annoying.
One thing that you mentioned was the fact that she was kind of like the screamer of the movie. It's like, yeah, I hate the fact that she's probably going to get stereotyped for those kind of roles where it's like, oh, we need a screamer, contact Millie Bobby Brown. It's like, no, she's a great actress. She can really hold her own. But if you stereotype her, you typecast her into these situations, that's going to hurt her career. It really is. She's only going to be known as, oh, that great thing from, Stranger Things, which she can do a lot more. She could do better. But again, just getting into everything that went on with, Godzilla, King of Monsters, it was great. I love the action. I love the fact people were complaining apparently about the pacing, the tone, the story, and the characters. Characters, we've already discussed that. Story, what more do you need other than taking out the human interaction? It's just monsters fighting each other. There's really nothing more you need to a story than that. Pacing, I could probably see why somebody would say that. Maybe there were just some points where they were a little too fast in some of the monster scenes. Maybe they were just too fast on some of the battles. But in all honesty, it was one of those things where I still looked at it and I thought I was very pleasantly happy with what I got. Still one of my favorite movies of this year. I would definitely say probably number 2 best movie of this year, in my opinion. Some people will definitely disagree with me that. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I quite frankly enjoyed everything that went into that. Now, I know that you talked a bit about, Millie Bobby Brown's performance off the air. But other than the human characters in that, did you enjoy the, at least, the monster battles as much as I did, or were you kind of disappointed with those as well?
No, I loved the monster battles. That's why I watch Godzilla. That's what I want to see. I thought we could have had even more of the monsters and less of the monsters worried about these humans that are literally ants. Like, they are ants to these monsters. And for some reason, they still had the monsters kind of focusing on them. I don't know why. I really have no idea why the monsters cared about them at all. And that's kind of another thing. Like, that logicalness, like, of Kong. Kong is defending his island. Kong is trying to destroy these things that are dropping bombs all over his island. Like, that makes sense. Like, that's a good reason. I would attack the crap out of someone who's trying to bomb my house. Like, hey, stop it. Why, like, So I don't understand why these creatures were so focused on, like, Rodan, like, chases this jet plane all over for a whole scene. And I'm like, one, Rodan would have caught that jet plane. Like, she caught everyone else, and no, she didn't catch this one. Good thing it was holding all of the main characters. Otherwise, that would have been really sad. And, like, people are like, yeah, good thing. It made it. Like, and King Ghidorah not killing them in, like, Alaska was just unfeasible. Like, eat him. And it was like, oh, I can't get through. Oh gosh. For some reason, my giant dragon head can't get through this helicopter. Like, that's my problem. Is that Kong grabbed a helicopter and exploded all those humans in it. And you were like, oh, snap, people are going to die in this film. Wherein the other one, like, people were like, we're somehow surviving. And then, like, they would do, like, this really big moment of, I'm going to go kill myself. And people are like, no. And the other character would be like, this is what the people want. They want us to die. And then people are like, we're right, but, like, you shouldn't choose it. It should just happen to you. Like Ken Watanabe, amazing. He is a character. He was in Detective Pikachu too. He's the Japanese scientist who explains a lot of this, and he really connects Godzilla with its heritage. And I love him to death. But, like, really, like, I'm gonna go in there and set the nuclear bomb off myself in a place where, like, machines can't function, but somehow he can walk with this nuclear bomb all the way up to Godzilla. Like, I'm like, what? Like, those were the things that were a problem in this movie. It wasn't the dragons fighting and stuff like that. It was literally the fact that, why are these things so infinitely powerful but cannot take on this helicopter? Like, they have to have the consistency of power that Kong had. Kong decided not to kill some people. That was cool. That was really cool. Godzilla also decides not to kill people because it doesn't give an F about them. And that is the correct option because it is giant. We are mini. Like, Godzilla looks in, like, the window and it's like, okay. Like, what? That's weird. Bye. And then it's like, I'm gonna go kill this giant dragon who's actually, like, a threat to me. And, like, that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense that King Ghidorah couldn't eat that airplane. Like, what? So I think I think that's the biggest issue, besides the fact that, like, we don't care about the humans because there's no underlining, like, connection that we have with them. But it's also just like, where's the level of power? Keep it at a level. You can't lower their power just because you want to save your main characters. You can't. You have to give them, they either have to die, or there has to be a reason why King Ghidorah decided not to eat everybody in that airplane, which there is no reason, so.
No, I 100% agree with you. I definitely do see where you're coming from. It is kind of one of those, it's really weird. I think this might be the first example of us saying, monster logic 101 is just, most of them are just, they'll either be like, oh, you're a threat to me, I need to kill you, or they will say, you're not really much of a threat, I'm just going to leave you be. But there's also people that would say, like, but the Animal Kingdom logic doesn't, it's like, these are monsters. They don't really go by Animal Kingdom logic, so we can't always say, like, oh, well, if King Ghidorah saw this, limping old man in the streets, he's going to kill automatically. No, he'd probably just be like, no, whatever. This thing's not going to...
It's too small.
It's way too small.
There's no reason. And also, I do like to imply animal logic upon these things, because that's how we can kind of connect, is that they look like animals. And that's, I think, why when people were, like, super, like, thrilled with Jurassic World or whatever, the newest one, I was like, that makes no sense. Like, there's no reason for this T-Rex to all of a sudden, or, like, fight this other T-Rex. It's like, hold up, humans, I got this. And it's like, wait, what? Why are you fighting this other creature that's way bigger and looks way more powerful? You should run. In the animal kingdom, a leopard runs away from a lion. It's not like, I'm the closest match. Gazelles, hold up. I will try. And then, like, the lion's like, okay, cool, I get a bigger meal. Thank you very much. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then the raptors would be like, they were like, yeah, we'll fight for you because we love this human who is our master. And I'm like, oh, that does make sense. But the T-Rex has no loyalty to these people. What is going on? I really like when people, like, that you have to give this creature a reason. And Godzilla and King Ghidorah and Godzilla and Rodan and Mothra all had reasons to fight one another. But they had no, like, they really shouldn't have cared about the humans to at least, to either let them live at all or, like, it just didn't make sense. Like, sometimes they'd be like, oh, I could destroy this. And then the next helicopter, oh, rats! I can't break this one. Like, no, like, come on. That was my big issue. So I like when they are monsters, but they're also, like, they're based off of animals. Like, they're territorial. That's why they're fighting, is they're fighting for territory, and because they are both extremely powerful monsters. But that makes sense in the animal kingdom. What doesn't make sense is it's so powerful that it can kill Godzilla, but it can't break a freaking helicopter. So, that's what I hate about it.
Fair enough. And I think I will say, I think the two cheesiest moments of that movie, as much as I love it, the two cheesy ones were the one moment where, you know, Godzilla just decides, you know what, I'm feeling kind of weak. I'm just going to go take a nap for like 500 years until somebody wakes me up with an atomic bomb. It's like, okay, that's weird. And then I think the ending was also really kind of cheesy, where they did this, like, Lion King bowing deal to be like, oh, you defeated King Ghidorah, therefore we have loyalty to you. It's like, okay, this is obviously a Disney film, so let's just mark this down right now.
It wasn't, though.
It feels like it now.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I also thought that was kind of weird. But it was like, okay, like, King of Monsters, sure. Like, and Rodan was like, hey, bro, my bad. Right. And I was like, don't touch my Mothra again. That was also kind of weird, just in general. Like, I just want to throw that out there. Like, how they were saying, like, Mothra is going to, like, have Godzilla's babies or something. I don't know. They were talking about that. They were talking about the species having sex and how it's like, oh, they're all the last of their kind so they can all F each other. And I was like, wait, what?
I literally just see, like, inbreeding monsters now. Thank you very much, Sony Pictures, for
right, it was weird. It was definitely, like, sap. Like, no, we don't care about them. We're not talking about their breeding and stuff. We're more interested in their fighting.
All right, I'm sorry. I should probably change that. Thank you, Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures, for putting that visual in my head. Just no.
They do talk about it quite a bit too. So
oh god, the inbreeding movies are going to be coming out soon. I feel it, and it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, this is revolution. It's like, no, it's not. It's unnatural. Don't even try this.
But no, I actually am, you know, I'm super excited for Godzilla vs. King Kong. I would like the producers and directors of Kong Skull Island to kind of, like, take over for this. I mean, they're run by the same production companies, you know, Warner Brothers, and then I forget the Japanese studio that is granting them access to all these Godzilla-ish worlds. But they're obviously involved. I'm very stoked. They consistently within Kong Skull Island was saying that Kong is still a baby. So when people are like, well, Godzilla's so much bigger, I'm like, Kong started in the 50s or 60s. I'm not for sure. I think it's during World War II, so it might have been the 40s. So he's had over like 70 years to get a lot bigger. And he's also mentioned within Godzilla King of the Monsters as being a big threat. So he's obviously kind of going away from the island somehow, being territorial. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who should win. I feel like Godzilla's going to win. Godzilla always wins. But, like, it's just going to be interesting. I'm excited for it. I'll definitely go see it.
I might be the person that might need to burst the bubble as far as looking forward to this goes, because I'm looking at the premises as far as Wikipedia goes. Here's what it says. In a time when monsters walk the earth, humanity's fight for its future sets Godzilla and Kong on a collision course that will see the two most powerful forces of nature on the planet collide in a spectacular battle for the ages. As Monarch embarks, Monarch is the secret agency that's basically looking at these monsters, just to put that in premises. Monarch embarks on a perilous mission into uncharted terrain and unearths clues to the Titans' origins. A human conspiracy threatens to wipe the creatures, both good and bad, from the face of the earth forever. Oh, great. So we're getting human involvement. Although, now thinking about it, I do remember that there is a final cutscene at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters where they show that guy buying one of the heads of King Ghidorah. So maybe that's their solution, is to bring out Mecha Ghidorah at this point. Maybe that's a major spoiler at this point.
I mean, I would love, like, it's kind of a weird off route, I feel, to go from King Ghidorah to Kong. Like, I want Mega Metal King Ghidorah and everything, and I want the, like, more aliens to come into this, because they're, like, Gigan and all these creatures that were a little more famous within the Godzilla realm. I think they sound like a little more fun, but maybe, and I don't know if this is true, but maybe Godzilla and King Kong will be the defenders of the Earth. I don't know. They might become peaceful with one another and be friends, but who knows? Well, I don't want either of them to just die off. I think they're great characters, but, and I don't know if Warner Brothers would want to kill them. So.
No, I definitely do see where you're coming from in that angle. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm just hoping it's not one of those things where it's like, well, we're getting a heavily human-related story in this. It's like, no, we want to see more monster battles. Just let us have that.
We do, but, like, we need humans in the story. Like, you need them. Because otherwise it's just a instrumental film, because they don't talk. Like, the monsters aren't going to talk. I don't want the monsters to talk. They can't communicate with each other. So, like, you need somebody to move the story along. That's what the humans do. So we always need the humans there. I just don't always enjoy why they give them such a big role, or what the hell they are doing there. Like, the fact that Bobby Brown, like, or Millie, sorry, I called her Billy. Like, didn't die. Wow. Well, she's the sneakiest of the snakes. Like, no, like, kill her. That would have been better. I would have been like, oh, now they paid for their sins. Like, what? But, yeah, it just don't give them this, like, iconic, like, symbolism, because we won't care enough. Like, all of the people in this movie should be expendable.
No, I definitely agree. I think that's probably the best way to end this. So, guys, that's been our thoughts on the upcoming Kong versus Godzilla movie. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. We'll definitely preview it a little bit more when we get closer to the deal. Maybe we'll even have to do situation where we'll have to find footage of the early Kong vs. Godzilla movie and maybe compare the two. Who knows? We'll see what we do for that. But guys, be sure to check out our Facebook fan pages. Victory Bells is always great. Definitely check out our photos. Leave some likes, leave some comments, but be respectful, damn it. Also, be sure to give us a like on our Facebook fan page. Also, give me a follow on Twitter at RealFNGame, and you can check us out on all major podcasting formats. Be sure to also be on the lookout, you guys, because there is a short film featuring the lovely Victory Bell during the She-Hulk deal that you definitely do not want to miss. It is produced by the Game Changer, so definitely a little cheap plug there. So definitely check that out. It's going to be coming out, like you said, before the end of the year. Is that the plan?
Yes. Okay. We do have a lot of editing, and it's already looking really fun. But yes, December-ish.
Alright, so December-ish the latest. So guys, thank you so much for listening in. For Victory Bell, I've been NateFNGreat, reminding you that you guys, as a game changer, you definitely can make a difference. So have a good one, you guys, and we'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye!
This is your pool party captain, Randy Fitzsimmons, and you're listening to the Game Changer Podcast. Pew, pew!